right, we are back on for our end of the year podcast. This year we've definitely been the most consistent with the podcast that we've ever been. So I don't know. I think we got in over 40 of them this year. Every once in a while we'd take a week off if we're traveling or people couldn't be around, but we got a lot of these in this year. So this was good. 2 years ago, I think we had maybe 30 in over, I don't know, from like 2018 to 21. And then we've cranked out, 60 in the last year and a half or so. So we've been on a good run here. And this has been fun. So it's good to kind of get your thoughts out there and what we've done too. And I appreciate all you guys listening to it is, we've got more of a steady crowd who listens to this every week and they look forward to it and they look for it. And, I have a lot of you guys come up and mention you listen to the podcast and I really appreciate it. I'm glad I'm not just, scheduling this every week and talking into a camera by myself. So, I appreciate you guys listening. We'll keep trying to put together some cool content. And I know Dave has a really cool idea for, our next one. And, I'm excited to do that. And we're going to have Drake on here pretty soon to talk about getting ready for the open and everything. So we're going to have him on soon. Look forward to a lot of fun stuff. I think what I wanted to do today is just look at the year 2023. I kind of just bulleted some stuff for a year in review, and it was a really productive year for the gym. One thing that probably almost everyone will acknowledge or see is the 3-tiered level system that we have in our all levels class that we started this year. And that's been a huge success. I've had no negative feedback on that. And it just gives a little clearer path each day, for the workout. And I know personally, I'm writing the workouts, but it's good for me. Even I don't know what version I'm going to do until that day. And I'll bounce between all three of them sometimes, like Tuesday I did, the muscle ups or that was Wednesday. We had some muscle ups in a workout and that was fun for me to break that skill out. About once a month, I'll do some work with, bar muscle ups or maybe a higher end skill like that. And then, today I'll do, the medium level and just use medium weight. I'm a little sore and beat up from this week. And, it's fun to be able to move up and down and the workouts seem to, when we just had one workout across, you could of course always modify and scale, workouts up or down from how they were written. But I like that you can see a path and then you're like, yeah, that's the one I'm going to do. Seems like it's worked out well.
Yeah, I think it just takes a lot of the decision making out of people's hands as far as like, when you just have maybe like one base workout and like a couple RX plus options, kind of what we traditionally had back in the day. Maybe with a smaller gym or a smaller group, you can always kind of make adjustments on the fly, or if people have questions, like, no, I think you should do this movement and with this weight. But just, from a bigger gym perspective and managing a large group, it's like, no, it kind of takes the guesswork out of it.
Yeah.
Like I said, you don't have to stay in one lane all the time. You can choose per day, but it gives you options. And, some people are very good about, if they have some experience, being like, I'm going to probably be somewhere in the middle. Maybe there's a movement that I can do, but not that other one. So it's like kind of between two categories, and
Yep.
they just know their body. They know how they perform, and they'll just go down that route. But for people that don't, it's just easier to be like, all right, I'm just going to stay in this lane today, and that's going to be good for me. So it just takes some of the guesswork out of it, especially if you don't have that like experience level or knowledge or know how to kind of know what you're doing.
Yeah. Where I've seen it really work well too is, people coming back to the gym. We have a lot of people who, it's awesome because we have good customers who they might take a break from CrossFit, but they come back to us and they're like, hey, I want to get back in shape, or I miss CrossFit, or, I took a few months off. And now it's really easy. It's like, hey, this first few weeks, just do the fitness option to get your body moving again. Just get used to, doing the class, doing the work, but don't beat yourself up because, you've got that kind of that contractile potential to hurt yourself. And this will just get you into a rhythm. And that's really worked well. And we have some older athletes who've been here for a while. Peter Merkel is a really good friend of mine who I coach in noon class all the time. It's really cool because he'll actually do like the open level gymnastic skills sometimes. And then heavier weight will bang him up and he'll do like a performance or fitness level of that. And he knows like every day, okay, I'm going to do the open level on that pull up. And then I'm going to do the fitness level on the weights, and that keeps his body healthy and him moving. So it's been cool. And what I like about it too is, with level 2, we now have continuity and a real clear system where it goes fitness, performance, open, quarters, semis, and then elite. And so the level 2 class also has the 3 tiers. Because there's a big difference between, trying to compete in the CrossFit games or the semifinals. And then, it's your first year, and now what the new games looks like is like the quarterfinals. And those are far different demands and tasks and even training volume and all of that. So we're trying to evolve our training to mimic what CrossFit's throwing out from a competition standpoint, but also just to meet our clients generally, the 85% of us where we're at, in our day-to-day fitness. So I think that's been a good thing there.
It's always been things I think we do as coaches or mention or say as far as all the different options for movements and weights, but it just makes it more clear and concise, and the directions are there. And, like I said, you just have a category that you're going to be in for that day. Just, managing a large group and managing, people's, fitness demands, things like that just makes it easier, I think, than just, having to here's the main workout and then a little asterisk over here if you're pretty good or if you need to modify it. It's more clear, more precise. Yep.
Another note I have is, this year with the CrossFit side and the barbell side and the Power Hour program and the Rev program, there's been more, I would say, people doing all of the programs are moving between them more than ever before. And all the programs are really healthy. Classes have a good number of people in each one of them. And there's people using, it was kind of my vision, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago when we started all of the alternative programs, for people to be able to move between them, depending on what their fitness goals were, if they had maybe injuries, however often they were training. And for a long time, it was kind of like, we had our barbell crowd and our CrossFit crowd, and they were separate. Sometimes people would move between the two, but it wasn't nearly as often as now, where we have a lot of people who are coming over from CrossFit and then doing, Power Hour or Rev for a period of time, then going back, or people who use a combination of the programs. And it's all working. This year's the first year that it all has worked exactly how I envisioned, 8 or 9 years ago. And you get to see it because you coach both classes now. So you've got to see people move back and forth, or they're doing Power Hour and they're like, okay, I think I'm ready to feel strong enough. I want to go do CrossFit now and things like that.
And if you coach a lot of those athletes in both classes, I feel like I think people generally they like all the coaches that if I coach someone CrossFit and they're going to come over and do power, they know me, they feel a little I don't want to say safe, but they feel, are you coaching power tomorrow? Good. I think I'm going to be there. Yeah. So there is a little bit of that. So, developing a rapport with members that you can coach them in both, different types of classes.
Yeah.
Power has a very specific template and plan. So if you're doing a little bit of both and you're doing some CrossFit, that Saturday is going to be some uppers. So kind of maybe factor that into your week of training and what your body needs, or if there was something in CrossFit on Friday that was a lot of uppers, maybe not a good day to do it Saturday. So you have that predictable schedule for Power Hours, so you can kind of mix that in with the CrossFit as needed, and that's kind of what's the word I'm looking for? I blanked on the word I was looking for.
No,
just make sure appropriate.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So you make sure you're doing that, a particular, section of the body or like a type of power hour program that's appropriate, with what you've been doing for the week.
I've really done quite a bit of mixing the programs this year where particularly Saturdays, I do a lot of just the upper. I'd be a little tired and worn out by the end of the week. And we'll typically have like a benchmark or a tough workout Saturday. And, maybe I'm sandbagging, but I was meeting myself where I was at because those were the days I'd be tired. I'm working out, a little earlier than maybe I would normally and doing a really hard workout. I'm like, hey, I'm just going to switch this up. Doing upper body. It's a big upper body pump. It's a lot of volume. And I'm like, it kept me feeling really good throughout the, for several months. I just did that. And up until recently, and then I've jumped back into doing CrossFit Saturdays more recently, but that was awesome for me to do this year. I did some power hour exclusively in the spring as well. And so I've liked to kind of mix and match the programs personally. And I've just seen a lot of other people take that approach and do that. And it keeps them in the game, particularly people who have done CrossFit, 6, 7, 8 years. I've had a couple people, pause their CrossFit and just do barbell for a while and then vice versa, then say, hey, I'm going to pause barbell, come back. And I'm like, that's great. That's how I wanted this whole thing to work. It keeps you moving. You're around people that you're comfortable with. You don't have to quit. You can stay moving in a really productive way. And once you start to get a little bit sick of something, or maybe the movement patterns are starting to aggravate an old injury, you can pivot and switch it up and go to something else. So this year, more than any, I've seen it work.
I think that really just maintains like a certain level of like mental stimulation.
Yep.
Right. If you were a serious athlete, like training programs are super monotonous and boring because everything is a progression that leads to this. But really, I don't think this is controversial, but just in the long-term game of life and just kind of having consistency over time, sometimes you're going to sacrifice a little bit of that very, like strategic, constantly, ascending type of program for just a little bit of variety.
Yep.
Like we're not trying to especially if your goals aren't like to make some specific race or lift or meet or the games, you just want a broad base of fitness over time. Sometimes it's fine just to switch it up now and again.
Yeah.
That's really the key. You have to enjoy what you're doing. And if you don't, it just becomes kind of it's not something you look forward to. And that can kind of derail your training too. So it's like finding the balance of pushing my body and kind of physically challenging it, but also do I like this and keeping yourself engaged mentally with it. So.
Yeah, I love that point because it's not. I think 2 years ago I was like, hey, I really felt this need to get strong and kind of end this in a crescendo of some 1 rep maxes and was able to hit some big goals that I'd had for a long time. And then, after that faded pretty quick. I'm like, I'm just like, that's good.
That's everything.
Yeah,
I've reached the peak, and you're I'm immediately dissatisfied again.
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
It doesn't last too long. You're like, I need something else.
Yeah. So, and then since then, it's like, I need to switch things up, vary it, change my goals up. I did some boxing for a little while. The longer you're in this, you can't just go cycle after cycle of I gotta PR every WOD, PR every lift repetitively over and over again for 20 years. You've got to change things up and then just stay stimulated to where you're you want to train and do things regularly. And towards the end of this, I'll kind of talk about, some benchmarks and things we hit and why I think it is important to touch those year by year and it just kind of keeps you in it. But the variety that we have here, whether it's the Olympic weightlifting class, the skills class we have on Sundays, Power Hour Rev, having a lot of variety and being able to keep training fun and novel is the name of the game to staying in it. So I think it's really worked well this year. The next thing I just wanted to chat about is in review we had, we're kind of known for our socials. And then this year we had our spring social, which is kind of our end of the open party, Murph. So Murph isn't an official social, but what we do have is We had food for everybody. We had face painting for kids. So it was kind of like an at gym event. That was a lot of fun. We'll do something very similar this year. We had our summer social, which was right in the short north with that new place. Shoot.
I know what you're saying. I can't think of
that place.
That
it was really cool. We'll do it there again.
Like neon pink lettering.
Yeah. Well,
is it Santo or
Santos? Yes.
Is it
Santos Bar? Yeah. So they were great. We had a really cool party there. They have like a big pool feature. I think it's going to be. They called it a water feature this year. I think it's going to be officially a pool. I think there was maybe some, I don't know, code violation sort of things.
Issues of what it actually was.
So they'll turn it into what would be considered a swimming pool, but it was a water feature that is basically, it's a swimming pool on a rooftop. It's pretty cool. We had our fall social at Woodlands, plan on going back there again. Those guys are great friends. And we had a Santa party at the gym, which was really cool. Mike took awesome pictures of all the kids. We're going to keep doing that. And then our holiday party again was a blast. And so that was 6 events. So basically we're averaging one every, 6 to 8 weeks. Our next one isn't for a while. So this is our longest stretch. We won't have one until after the Open, which will be in March. One thing that I am getting together as we speak, which I think will be really cool, is it's a 2024 outlook for the gym. And it's going to go through so you guys will see, I'll release like the basic design of our programming for the next 12 weeks. And we'll kind of come up with an Instagram infographic. I'll put a Google Doc in the private members group. But what I'm putting together right now is a whole outlook. I'm going to try and date, or at least like put, within a few weeks, a TBA for all of our events and parties, our big benchmark workouts, all of the basic ideas behind the training phases that we're doing in the all levels class, and, have the open. So you guys can open that up. I'm going to send a PDF to everybody, and you guys will be able to see that, and then kind of plan your year as far as some people, they're like, oh crap, I didn't know that party was that day, and I scheduled like a weekend thing or whatever it is. So if you guys really enjoy coming to that stuff, or you don't want to miss like summer shred dates and you want to plan things around it, we're going to go ahead and try and get all that stuff out to you. I'm hoping to have it done in the next week or two. So early here in January, and it'll allow you guys to plan your whole year a little bit around, some of this gym stuff. So I hope that's helpful. And that's something I'm literally going to work on a lot tomorrow and trying to get all of that laid out. So look forward to that popping out into your emails. Also put a PDF copy in the private members group. So, and then another thing I wanted to touch on is this year we had our first semifinals team, so they've changed the CrossFit games and things up each year. And so there was a semifinal 2022. We were just short of making it. I think we got a minor penalty on a workout that kind of knocked us out. I disagree with the decision on that, but yeah, it knocked us out of contention. We were right on the bubble. And then this year we clearly made it through, and the team had a great experience out there. It was Drake's first year and Nate's first year at that, semifinal or regional level. And then it was, I believe, never say never, but Kiri's last year as, under the age group stuff. At least that's what she was saying. This is my last year. And I think she was, 35 or 6, competing out there with all the young guys on the team. And then, Julianne as well. And, both of them were both competing like way back when we were doing it in 2010. So they've been at it for years, and in CrossFit, almost more than any other sport I've seen, like having longevity and especially competing at a high level for that long is incredibly impressive. So it's pretty cool to see them get to go back and compete on that stage again and do it and have a lot of fun with a team that they all got along well. They all just went and really enjoyed the experience. So I was super happy to see that. And then we had our first semifinals masters athlete. So it was a new layer that was added on, and it was M.A. Flannery. And she recently started her own gym out in, I believe it's the Powell area. So she's not with us now. But she was a great member and had an awesome year. And what was really cool about this past year is we had this, it kind of just happened organically, and these ladies are still training together, quite a few of them, but I think we had 5 Masters female athletes in the quarterfinals. So they kind of created this little Masters female clique, and they all performed super well. Megan Ward was right on the bubble. She almost made it. Kiri would have been right there, but she just decided to go onto our team. So, she just went to the semifinals in a different division, but they had an awesome year. They all were training really hard. This year it's looking like we're going to split, because we have a really good crew this year in level 2, and we're going to split into 2 teams. And we'll talk about that on a podcast here in a couple weeks, but they're split into 2 teams. So more than likely we'll have 2 quarterfinals teams. And hopefully one of them will get through to semis, but man, it's tough to get there. So, we'll see, but we have a great group this year, and it should be a lot of fun. Open is coming up in March. So it's pushed back about a week or 2 from the last few years, which I like. I felt like it was a little early, coming out of the holidays. If people weren't super dialed in and focused, like they'd have, a month to get ready for it. That's not a lot of time. So yeah, Open. I like the Open, the way they're doing it right now too, as well, with the 3 weeks. It's a 3-week Open rather than the 5, or it used to be 6 weeks at one point, which is a long time if you are doing it at more of a participatory level, and maybe you have a trip coming up or something, you'd have to drop in at a gym. It'd be hard to get all 5 in. Mm-hmm. I'd see about half the crowd fall off 3 or 4 workouts in.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So I like the 3 weeks. It's like, okay, I can stay focused for 3 weeks, get these checked off, and then, clap on all the people who really are focused and serious on moving through this. And, just from my standpoint, it's easier too. I jump up on a mic and I kind of run people through the workouts, and I'm usually doing the Open as well. And I think, right around week 4, I usually get a cold or something.
It's just a long time to kind of adjust your gym schedule and programming around this thing. 3 weeks is more manageable. Doing it like a month and a half, I just remember being in that position of like, what's going to come up this week, programming wise, what are we going to do? It's like,
we're just getting the equipment,
Yeah, that too. I mean, there were some years you're like, oh, everyone needs to get this now. What was the year where it was like
the dumbbells?
Yeah, everyone had 45s, 35s, 45s, and no 50s, and everyone was making a rush on 50s. I do remember that. Yeah.
Was that right out of COVID, or I don't know? Maybe not.
It may have been just before. I think it was like a snatch box jump workout.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
It was hard to get your hands on those dumbbells, though.
We had some metal ones. I think we had a handful. We got away with it, but yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah. So the 3 weeks definitely helps, I think. I hope to have a great turnout. I mean, the Open, we've always really gone all out for it. So if you're listening, you haven't participated in it, again, it's those 3 weeks where, I used to take it super seriously and try and qualify for this.
What's your, do you have any ones that stick out that were your least favorite or hurt the most over the years that you can remember?
I'll tell you what, that snatch, box jump one that you just said, that's right up there. I hadn't done the Open the year before I had an injury, and then so I hadn't done it in 2 years, but I was real fit and in shape and wanted to do well. So it was one that I took the workout seriously and really tried, which made it
Worse.
Yeah, that was brutal. I just remember my back. I'd never done a ton of dumbbell snatches. You know how now we're all very efficient with it, but my back was so sore.
It's not light enough. You're not going to fail rep. It's just like how, like mentally, like you just want to take a break. You're like, just no, keep it going. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, there's nothing stopping you other than just like, I'm tired of bending over and picking this up. Yeah,
that was a hard one. What about you?
I would have to go through the list of like seeing a bunch, but I did this. I think they've done it a couple times, and I did a few times over the years. It was it felt awful, especially if you were pretty good at these movements. It was I think it was 15 power snatches, 30 double unders. It was a 10-minute AMRAP.
Yeah, that's coming up.
It was
at the gym.
75 pounds to 55 pounds, 30 double. I mean, if you're good at stuff and fairly strong, you don't really stop, and it's just 10 minutes of pain.
So we got that coming up on Saturday.
I think Rich won it that one year, but that was a terrible feeling.
Yeah.
it was 3 minutes in, your lungs are burning, everything's just burning, and you just got a hook grip on the bar. You're just standing up doing this. You don't even really have to dip underneath it. You can basically just drive and muscle snatch it. It hurt. I did not like that workout.
Well, it's just a ton of hinging and double unders. It's the longest 10 minutes of your life.
It is. It's very long. And when you're hitting it and you're like, oh, that round took a minute, you're basically trying to keep a minute around, which is kind of where the top guys were getting. And that was just a really hard tempo to sustain. I think there was a rowing thrusters one for time. It was like 27, 21, 59.
Yeah.
Was it 95 in the thrusters and then calories in the rower? That was pretty painful.
So
the couplets tend to be the worst.
Yes.
There's some bad ones. I think
they had a bar facing burpee with the same one like that descending order that was particularly brutal. That one though, the year, so it was the year that we had the games team, and Mike and Austin were within like a point of each other worldwide. I mean, like they had to battle for who was going to start on the team. Mm-hmm. We literally circled up like 50 people in the gym. They had their rowers facing each other and their barbells, and they were very equally matched on that workout. Like they're both awesome rowers. They can toss a barbell, and they were within like 2 or 3 reps of each other for this whole long, just horribly hard workout with a lot on the line and everyone screaming at them. So I'm like, that probably had to be the most painful open workout I've witnessed. That one was pretty cool. So yeah, the open always has, you try harder. It's got there's a lot of really cool aspects to just participating in it. I've had really good years where I felt great and executed well, and then other years where I'm patting myself on the back to get through it. And so I think it's a really fun thing to participate in, and the workouts are all ones you won't forget. So I really recommend if you're, even if you're just coming in here for a workout, don't put a ton of pressure on yourself. We'll run them on Saturdays just as our normal workout. And then we have some heats that we'll run it kind of like a competition, but anyone can do it. They have scaled versions of it. So they almost have sort of like our class, like a fitness performance, and then the open version of it. So everyone can participate, from beginners all the way up to our people who are trying to make their way through into the CrossFit Games. So, right after the open, we kind of move into summer shred and hot, and then hot for the holidays is the one we did recently. We've maintained these contests since 2014. We had great turnouts this year. People who we kind of have a cult following with these, 30 or 40 members who do them almost every year. If you haven't tried these contests, they're a ton of fun. And for me personally, I always participate in them. it really helps my fitness throughout the year to have 2 6-week contests where I'm focused, I'm eating cleaner, and I'm doing a big group workout that's hard on Saturdays or hot for the holidays on Fridays. It just keeps me accountable. I'm like, I got to get this in and I don't want to suck. And that's, all of a sudden you add that, those 2 contests in, that's 12 weeks out of the year, 12 weeks out of 52. If you're staying tighter, after, 9 or 10 years, I think that's played a role in me staying consistent and pretty fit for the last decade. So you can add those or pulse those into your year. It's going to really, I think you'll see a difference over time in your fitness. And
maybe I'll participate in the summer one.
You should. I think you would like that one. It's Saturdays. You got the day off.
No, it's not. It's just it's the kind of like lifestyle changes to do that are like really, I mean, I'll be the first to. I'm just kind of a steady Eddie.
Yep.
I'm not perfect, but like things have kind of generally worked for a while, and like just buckling that down and having the discipline to like change things up and like, kind of get into that kind of discomfort zone of like, you're making some changes. They're good ones. Yep. Maybe not going to do them forever, but like, it's going to be kind of maybe mentally painful for a little bit to make some sacrifices. So, yeah. So it's just like Chelsea doing bodybuilding now. And it's like, she's very like wired for that. Like she likes that kind of all or nothing approach to her stuff. And it really works well for her personality. And like, I think she was seeing if I had an interest in doing it. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to go through what you went through to do this. Like I could do the training part of it, but like just some of the other things, that would be really rough.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean to be a baby about it, but I just don't, it's just not the way I would approach things or my mind works.
We have a lot of people who do it for the workouts. Quite a few. They're like, they just join because they love, we're going to Hoover Dam with a group of 30 people or 25 people running up and down stairs. We're doing a lot of like fun, novel workouts, hanging out together afterwards.
Talking about doing the things to win though, like that Talik was doing, saying, making all those like, you'll never see me weighing and measuring my food.
I will say the best shape I've ever been in my entire life. I can point to it, and it was Summer Shred in 2017, and it's cool. And I can remember it. It was like 35, which is like usually it's not old, but it's not the age where people are like, oh, that's when I was in my peak shape. Yep. For sure, I remember taking the picture and then just knowing kind of like where my lifts were. They weren't at the highest. But my 5K run at the end wasn't quite my PR, but none of it had ever been that close. Like my lifts were good. I was like really strong. Like I was doing ring muscle ups all the time. I could, touch and go 405 for some reps. And I ran like a 20-50 5K, it's like a 640 something pace. I just felt so good. And I'm like, that Summer Shred is what pushed me into being in the best shape of my life that year. And it just all kind of came together for me. But
I think that's like the philosophy of CrossFit too. It's like, I mean, you can't be so, at least in, having a general, GPP, like you don't want to have a couple categories of fitness that are so much higher and there's so many deficits here. It's kind of like, let's bring them all kind of fairly closer together and then try to raise them all at the same time. Maybe picking little points here and there to focus on, but it's generally to have a broad base of fitness in all categories without really having too strong, too much of a strength in one area and too much of a deficit in another. That's probably why you felt the best. Like, it may not have been your strongest, deadlift or something like that, but hey, like I can run real fast and far, and like that's great.
Yeah, that's exactly
and that's
how I
kind
felt,
of the things that would, if you were trying to be a competitor at this, that's exactly what will take you out of this competition. It's not the things that you're really good at. It's like the one movement or the one thing that you were really bad at. It'll come up at some point and take you out.
Yeah, and that Summer Shred is. I really enjoy that contest. So if you're listening, you haven't tried that, it's a good one.
Summer's just around the corner, guys. I know winter just started. It's coming soon.
Yep.
After a long winter.
Oh yeah. I'm already thinking about it. And then I have a note like this year, some years we've got a really sticky staff, so we're not moving and flipping people over too often. We had a little more movement during COVID. I think that was across the board nationally and internationally. But I'm really proud of Nick, who went to the police academy, and then Arlie, the fire academy. Nick just graduated from the police academy. He's back in the gym training. And then his actual, his patrol is literally, Kinnear Road. So it's cool. He actually got put on, I can't remember. I think it might be third shift, but he just started, I think, like this week or last week. And so he's literally watching the gym and patrolling it. And then Arlie, I think he's going to be done here with the Columbus Fire Academy in the end of January. So really proud of those guys. I guess, I'm going to actually make a post soon about how we have, CrossFit really started as this big thing. It served military, fire, and police. And we have a big presence of military, fire, and police at the gym. And then I guess, our coaching and training program are spitting out, a lot of civil service people. Carrie's a full-time firefighter after, 5 or 6 years being a full-time coach here. And then we got Nick and Arlie. So, I need to get in touch with the Fire and Police Academy, and we'll just start a system here of training their guys and getting them ready. But the caveat to them going there is, the additions of yourself and Jack Howard, and Jack took over the Power Hour program, and he's on the, the conjugate seminar staff, and he's added, his flair to the programming and things, and he puts together really cool stuff. And then we're lucky enough to, get you in a transition where, you've been a coach for well over a decade and been doing CrossFit for a long time. And you get to kind of like do some of the Power Hour, some of the CrossFit. And then what I like to, and what I kind of try and stack my schedule when I look at it, is a little bit with the crowd. So our crowds generally tend to be, I would say, like more of our neighborhood, like UA and Grandview, moms and dads, or just like a little bit older crowd is more in the morning or before noon, or like noon and below. And then our younger crowd is a little bit in the evening, more in the evening. Now there's plenty of people who are young in the morning, plenty of people who are at a different stage in life and a little older in the afternoon. But I've stacked the schedule slightly older and slightly younger in that way. So people have coaches a little bit more so that they'll just resonate and you have a little more in common with. And I don't know if that's, good or bad, but that's kind of how my thought process has been. And, I was a little bit more of a night owl as I was younger, and now I need a little bit more steady, regular, like schedule where I'm not, closing a garage door down at 9. Mm-hmm. I know you're more of a night owl, but I'm sure you're transitioning a little bit more into mornings and things like that.
It's better to work early, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to close the garage door at 9 p.m. either.
Exactly. So it's worked out great. And I'm just thrilled with our staff right now. We've got a freaking awesome team. And, this year we're going to really make goals and we've always been big on this, but furthering our education. I know like Drake's looking at getting his level 3. James got his this year. We've got 4 on staff. I don't know of any other CrossFit gyms, maybe even in the country, that have 4 level 3s. It's typically just a thing that owners have, because they've owned a gym for a long time and you have to keep kind of progressing. So I think that's really cool. And, we're starting to chat maybe about getting level 4s and things like that. So, that's a tall task. And, that's something that I don't know that people pass often on the first one, but, we're going to start putting in work towards that. And then, we did our retreat in Tulum again. And then me and Dave are actually going to travel down to Puerto Rico together in February and start workshopping and trying out some things for, it would be a domestic retreat that we may add to the calendar either in late 24 or in 25. And that would be one where you wouldn't have to have a passport. And I've got a place, and it would be a little more affordable for some of us. So we're going to try and play around with that. So we might add another retreat to the calendar, and then, bring Dave onto the team to help run those. He's an adventurous guy and likes to try new things. So I think that could be fun. And that's just another layer of things we're trying to add in 24 and then possibly 25. So we're going to keep up with those retreats. And then just new equipment. I was looking through it, and we had a guy who was an old member way back at the old Rogue gym. And he came in, I think, our first or second day we were open here. And he's like, whoa, this place is a lot different. And to me, it seems like it's not that much different. But we didn't have any of our neon signs up. And we only had, I don't even think we had our cable crossover hadn't came in. And so I was just thinking of all the new equipment we got this year. We got the booty builder, calf machine, leg extension and curl. We got saunas. So we got quite a bit of new equipment, and we have some more stuff coming on the way to the barbell side. And I'm going to just kind of surprise you guys with that here in the next few weeks.
I almost said something. Good, yeah. I won't say it.
Actually, Rogue just got some of that stuff in, and we're waiting on some of the other. So next week, we're going to pick some of it up, but we might be waiting a few weeks on the rest of it to kind of put it all together. So we've got some fun stuff coming up on that barbell side that's going to be a game changer just in general for the flow of things, and I think everyone's going to love it. So, 2023 has been a year where it's our second year in this new space, and we really kind of filled it up and started to add the layers to, a place that just felt brand new. And now we're starting to kind of fill it all in. And we're really going to further do that in 2024, even from more of an aesthetic standpoint. We have some bare walls and just some things that just feel like we just got in here. And now we're going to take the time to just really finish this gym out, make it look the way we want it to look for years to come. It's always going to be a project. The second I remember at the old gym, it was the second I was like, okay, I think we got everything right here. All of a sudden the bathroom started falling apart and holes in the wall. The place just started to kind of look like shit. I'm like, okay, we need a full renovation. This place is looking kind of grimy. So it's always going to be it's a constant work in progress, but this next year, we're really going to...
It's like a house, too. I feel like you move in, you're kind of getting things settled. Where's everything go? And it's all right, let's make this thing look good. And, put a more detail into that. So it makes sense.
We had a plan. We had a general plan, but we had to move. We were open at the old gym. It was Christmas. I think the day after Christmas, it was a Sunday, and we opened here on a Monday. And we had to we were doing a lot of it on our own, but we had to hire some moving team helpers to put the rigs up. And so we're open here, and we're bolting down the rigs and pointing at places to put TVs and rolling dumbbells around. And, we just had to kind of throw it together because we're out of one place and in another place.
Just to keep the business rolling. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's really wasn't any time to really sit and think about every little detail about it. It's nope, you're there.
So now we can kind of okay, one little thing at a time, move things around. Even back here, I think, Mandy's talking about getting some stuff and maybe even making it kind of like a recovery area as well, where members can come back. you'll be around the physical therapist so you can work with like recovery tools and then even ask for little tips and things like that. And it just puts you around experts. And if you've got tweaks or injuries where you're doing recovery things and they can, give you some advice or be like, hey, what you're going to need to do is maybe see me. So we're looking into doing some of that. And
yeah, Byron's always back here on the couch. He could use some company.
Exactly. We had a huge year. I talked a little bit about it at our Christmas party. It's been a lot of fun. And I just wanted to like go through and recap it. And, the last thing I just wanted to like talk about was when I put this, not that just this podcast, but when I send out the kind of our year map, try and map out some of the benchmark, whether it's workouts, contests, some of those things, put those on your annual calendar and try and hold to them and watch what happens to your fitness when you don't just fly by the seat of your pants and you plan a little bit. It really does make a difference. And it's something that Kate and I have built our year around. There's times to kind of like back off and times to ramp it up, but it helps us keep us fit throughout the year and fit in the ways that we want to at the right times. Like summer, summer shred is we build some running in to get you ready for summer. And summer, you want to be outside active, feel like you can run. That contest is meant for that. The hot for the holidays, it's that time of year where people really start to let off the gas and it holds some accountability to at least doing this one tough workout a week with a partner during a time where a lot of people start like pausing memberships or, not training as often. So there's a thought process to all of it. So check that stuff out, mark your calendars down. I'm pumped for 2024. I think we're going to just only improve on the things we've done. We've got an awesome team here. You're only going to see things get better. Catch us next week. We've got a fun podcast. We're going to talk about the future of fitness and get into some like sci-fi type 100 years down the road type stuff. I think it'll be really fun.
Yeah, just something I was kind of thinking about in a couple of random dog walks recently. Just kind of letting my mind wander a little bit and to kind of think about some ideas for some podcast stuff, kind of fitness related, but kind of broader scale, kind of fun, more interesting stuff. So
some Star Wars stuff, like when Luke gets his hand cut off and he's like, Yep. All right. All right, guys. We'll catch you guys next week.